I really judged the book by its cover because I was like, this is gonna be so good, it's gonna be so amazing, it's gonna be so fun. It was so boring. Hello besties, it is Keira. Welcome back to my channel. So today's video is the first video of 2025. That is crazy. I'm gonna be talking about some of my favorites of the year, and then I have just like a small little stack of books that I just didn't love or were kind of disappointed in. Hope y'all enjoy. Welcome to 2025. Make sure to follow my socials down below, love my goodreads, my Amazon wishlist, stuff like that is linked down there if you want to check it out. Like, comment, and subscribe for more videos by me. And let's just get right into it. Okay, so I don't think I really have like a necessarily like an order for all of these. I think I basically looked through like every book that I read this year and like went through each month. Like the top books are kind of like the books I read at the beginning months of 2024, and then all the way down to the bottom is kind of like one of my last favorites. All right, first book I'm just putting in here. I think I gave it like 4 stars, but like I think I saw this on TikTok years ago. This one book just kept coming up again and again and again. I want to say it kind of got me interested or like back into reading. It's Punk 57 by Penelope Douglas. This is so random. This book basically is about like these 2 people who like were pen pals, I guess, and they were like wrote notes back and forth to each other. Like one of them has like a name that could possibly like also be a boy name, so they thought it was like 2 boys contacting each other, but really was a boy and a girl. They somehow either like going to the same school or like they somehow meet, and as they're going along the guy realizes that, oh crap, this is my pen pal type situation, but she doesn't know that. It's like this whole thing, and it was kind of advertised to me as like a bully romance, which I hate. I hate a bully romance. I mean, it wasn't, but it was at the same time. I don't know why, guys. I don't know why I liked it. It was so good. I had to do it as an honorable mention because of how long I put this book off because I was scared. We'll leave it off at that. Next up was the book that I think was my first 5-star of 2024, and it was Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. This was going around. Basically, from what I remember about like plot of this book is that it's about this girl named Iris, and I think she wants to be like a writer or something for like a newspaper. She has this kind of rival writer, I guess, if you will, and it's basically Roman. But there's also this plot of like there's a war kind of happening, and I just remember this book being so beautifully written, and the magical typewriter aspect of it is just so beautiful. Like this book overall, the writing style, just the setting, like everything about it was just so beautiful and easy for me to read. I loved Roman and Iris's romance story. I loved how they actually kind of were like rivals to lovers, and just everything that they go through together. It's just, I really enjoy this book, and I definitely recommend it. This next book, I don't know if it was my second 5-star of 2024. It's Hot House Flower by Kristen Becker Ritchie. So this is technically the 5th book in, if you're reading it interconnected, of the Addicted and Calloway Sisters series. This is Reich and Daisy's story, and basically there's like 3 couples within the whole like interconnected universe. There's just something about Reich and Daisy that just really like drew me in. I don't want to like spoil too much. Reich is somehow related to Lo, who is like the main character of the Addicted series, and Daisy is the sister of the female main character from the Addicted series, Lily. You kind of like go through the first couple books of Daisy being, I think, like 16, so she's a minor, and then Reich is like 20 something. Daisy like didn't want to like tell any of her family or her sisters about like what she's going through. Like she's basically having like really bad nightmares because of something that happens in, I think it's either Addicted for Now, the 3rd book, or Kiss the Sky. Reich is kind of the one that's there for her and taking care of her, just like overall comforting her through this time. Oh my, it's so beautiful. And they're just like the most odd couple, but I love them. And you can just see throughout the whole entire time of them like not being together, and Daisy kind of being flirty, and Reich's like, no, like you're too young for me. And then they go through all this stuff on the other side of things. I think about this book all the time. Yeah, I mean, this series, definitely check out trigger warnings. There is so much to it. It's kind of like watching a reality TV show, but like, you know, like reading it in a sense, where there's just like so much drama, so much things going on, but like you just can't put it down. Love this book and love these characters. Right, next up is one of those books, again, kind of like Punk 57, where it's like, it's kind of, I don't want to say horrible, It's still beating by Jennifer Hartman. So one of my favorite books of all time is Lotus by Jennifer Hartman. This, I think, comes before that book. It's all kind of like an interconnected kind of like series or universe. Definitely check out Trigger Warnings. This is basically about these two people. From what I remember of it, I think the guy is like engaged or something to this woman's sister. One night they end up getting like kidnapped and kind of thrown in this basement together and are like chained. Yeah, like they don't even like each other, and you kind of just go through like them being down there and then them escaping and then them kind of like after dealing with like the trauma. It's bad to say, but it's basically like their romance story. It's very much like trauma bonded. I don't know what it is about emotional romances. They just get me every time. I was like, Jennifer Hartman, she just did it again. We're almost halfway. Next book is one that kind of surprised me, honestly. And it was The Brightest Light of Sunshine by Lacina Coney. This I honestly did not hear good things about from like booktubers and people that I really like and I trust. So I was really scared to go into it. I overall really enjoyed it. What made it surprising to me was that it's a friends to lovers book, and I just do not like friends to lovers. It's just not my favorite trope. You can see a theme, I feel like, in like my favorite books. They're always very emotional romances. This woman had something very bad happen to her, and she's kind of just trying to move on from that whole situation. So she wants to get like a certain tattoo that represents her like moving on from it, and that's where she meets this guy who is a tattoo artist. Kind of meet cute is like her coming in but then like going through this whole thing, and she's like, no, actually I don't want to get this anymore, and she kind of like runs out. Then she just keeps trying to like come back, like get this tattoo. Turns into like a friends situation. They again both have a lot of stuff going on. Like she obviously has her past, and then he taking care of his little sister, or like taking guardianship of his little sister. I loved that you actually saw them start off as strangers and then develop a friendship and then turn into kind of lovers. I feel like usual friends to lovers books, they're already friends and they're already having these certain feelings for each other. I wanted to develop from like round zero where they're absolutely not friends at all, they know nothing about each other, and then they start to develop that friendship, and then they turns into like a deeper connection. I think that that's what kind of friends to lovers books I like. That's exactly what this one was. Writing style was very easy, but I definitely do recommend it. I liked it personally. It's not for everybody. We're like halfway through my favorite books. I don't know what it is, but this like second half is very much books that I felt like from like September to now, like December that I'm filming this. I don't know what happened, but I found a lot of good books. Next up is kind of a series that is starting to have a very special place in my heart. I'm currently reading the third book in this series, the Cassandra Clare kind of saga, if you will. This is City of Bones. I put off this book for a very long time. I'm just so surprised that I put it off for so long, because I enjoyed this book, but I'm enjoying this series so much. At least for this book, the overall like plot of it is that there's this girl named Clary, and she's like a human, and she's living in New York City, and one day she like runs into this certain group at a party, and they're called like the Shadow Hunters, and then her mom ends up going missing, and she has to work with the Shadow Hunters to kind of help find her. It's a YA fantasy, it's an urban fantasy because it takes place in New York City. These books were like published in like 2007, and you can totally tell because of just how like everything is written and just the language. And like, yeah, it's kind of trashy, but I am like obsessed with it. I'm finding it so enjoyable, so fun, so easy to binge. It's like watching a show or like a movie, like a high action fantasy movie in a book. I love when I don't have to put too much brain power into things. Like, I don't think it's for everybody because there are some very controversial plot points that are happening that are a little icky. I'm just waiting for another huge series to really take me under its wing. I feel like it's always action packed, there's always something going on, kind of a love triangle situation, a lot of different point of views. It's really fun. I do recommend it. Lay on the blinky. Diva. Next up was, I think, my most recent and my last 5-star of the year. It was Wild Eyes by Elsie Silver. If you guys don't know me, I love Elsie Silver. She's probably like one of my favorite authors of all time. Like, I just love her cowboy, country, small town romances. Writing style is very easy, very digestible, very quick, and just everything I love. This is the second book in the Rose Hill series. This is basically about Wes, who is the brother of the female main character from the first book, and then this country singer named Skylar. Skylar comes to this small town of Rose Hill to just get away from everything and kind of work on her own music. And that's where she meets Wes, who like offers his little like guest house or whatever to her so she can stay there. And he's a single dad, you know, already I love. What I liked about this one, like, it wasn't the most like amazing thing ever written, but I like loved it. I flew through it. Something about the kind of slower burn of this book where obviously they were attracted to each other. Like, Wes kind of wanted to be there her more than a friend because she was going through so much. Like, she has so much trauma going on with her, with like relationships with people. Didn't want her to feel like used, I guess, if you will. I love Wes for this entire book. Like, he is definitely one of my favorite Elsie Silver men. He doesn't top Jasper. Jasper is like favorite of all time. Loved his kids' relationship with Skylar. Like, forced proximity takes place on like ranch kind of situation. He's like a horse trainer. Vibes were immaculate. I love Elsie Silver. Yeah, I mean, immediately 5 stars. Glad that I liked this book a lot more than the first one. 5 stars, amazing, beautiful, love it. All right, next up is more, I'm just putting like the first 2 books because the first book kind of changed my life and I just wanted to talk about the series overall. It's the Lightlark series by Alex Astor, I'm sorry if I'm saying it incorrectly. Lightlark. I have seen this book around for a little while and I finally was like, yeah, let me pick it up, let me see how it is, which I've talked about it like 17 million times. But if you have not heard of me talk about it, it's basically about this world where there are 6 realms and every 100 years they get summoned to this place called Lightlark where they go through these like demonstrations and trials and games to try to figure out a way to break the curses that are on them and their people. You get thrown in with this girl named Isla, who is one of the rulers, and it's like her first time going to the Centennial. You're basically following her throughout this story, going through all these trials and all that kind of stuff. So fun. The world is so magical. I was just like immersed in this book, in this series, like from the beginning. So magical, YA fantasy. There's a little bit of a love triangle situation, which I usually don't love, but I really enjoy it in this series for some reason. I definitely recommend it. I am scared because apparently this is not a trilogy anymore. There are going to be like 5 books. I think about the characters in these books all the time. One of my favorite series that I discovered in 2024, and I'm so glad that I did. This next book is kind of random. Like, I just feel like I had to talk about it. It's Unwanted by May Sheridan. It's basically like romantic suspense mystery thriller. I don't like a mystery thriller. This one I could get past because it's a romantic suspense. I don't want to spoil too much of it because you know nothing going into this. You kind of have to just like read along and figure it out as you go. There's this woman named Harper. She's like a wilderness guide and she gets asked to help this like double murder investigation happens with some place in the woods. There's this guy named Lucas who she meets and he's like a suspect in the case. There are, I think, like 3 or 4 point of views that go on and you're kind of just going through them, learning a lot of information. The main character Lucas reminded me of Archer from Archer's Voice so much, and I think that's why I enjoyed this book, because I don't know what it is about like an inexperienced male main character who's been kind of like away from society for a very long time, but seeing them come back into the world like not knowing much and then finding that one like love interest that helps them like learn a lot of the things. It's just so amazing. The one thing I will say, like the middle part of the book, I felt like the romance kind of took over and I wanted a little bit more of the mystery. Like I was very much invested in the mystery as well at that point, but it kind of was more about the romance, and then I felt like the ending was a little bit rushed. But it's so good and I definitely recommend it if you want to kind of switch it up a little bit. Last 2 books that I have to talk about. First one is Play Along by Liz Tom Ford. This was like, again, one that really surprised me. This is the 4th book in the Windy City series. It's about Kennedy and Isaiah. So Isaiah is the brother of the male main character from the 3rd book. He is is a player on the baseball team, and then Kennedy is the like trainer, kind of physical therapist, one of those kind of roles for the baseball team. The whole kind of plot about this is that it is a marriage of convenience, or like accidental marriage that turns into like a marriage of convenience. And the thing about this is that like the staff is not able to like get involved at all with the team. Kennedy's like looking for another job, so they stay married to kind of help with that situation. And I just loved that it's like more of like an emotional romance where both of these characters have so much going on in the background within themselves. Them working through those challenges together was so beautiful. Isaiah like seems like he's this like funny guy, makes jokes all the time, is like happy, but like he's got so many things going on in his head and within him that's like really affecting him. No one really like notices until he's like with Kennedy and she's like there with him. And then growing up, Kennedy has just not been shown a lot of like love at all, or like physical touch or interactions, and that's a big struggle that she's going through. It would be a 5-star, but like spice was a big factor just overall in the series and this author's like writing style. It was like a little much personally for me. All right, last up on my favorites of the year, Lost and Lassoed by Lila Sage. This is the third book in the Rebel Blue Rant series. I feel like everybody has been anticipating this book for along with me. So this is Teddy and Gus's story, and basically you see throughout the first 2 books like they don't like each other. Teddy's going through so much on her side, like she's got to take care of her father, and she's kind of like in a situation where she just doesn't know what she wants to do with her life. She lost her job. I really related to Teddy's character in this book, just kind of just like not being enough with like relationships with like friends and stuff in general. Gus he is technically a single dad, but like the mother of the child is still kind of involved, but he has to take care of his daughter for the summer. Gus just like is struggling with a bunch of like responsibilities, and just seeing these 2 characters have their interactions and like the forced proximity and having to like take care of each other is just so beautiful. They always are doing so much for other people and not doing so much for themselves, and in this book they both in a way start to take care of each other. I love the country cowboy vibes. They're very short, they're very easy to read and fly through. Final book for my 2024 favorites. Now we're just gonna get into a little bit of a stack of some books that not necessarily like the worst thing I've ever read, but were just disappointing. First up on top of the stack here is Nothing Like the Movies. I just overall think that this book was not needed. The plot was dragged along the whole entire book. Wes was just trying with no progress on Liz's side, and then all of a sudden she ended up being like, yeah, maybe I do like him and I'll give him a second chance. Next up was King of Greed by Anna Huang. I gave this a 2.5 out of 5 stars. Explained it, I felt like in maybe my wrap up for November or something, I like Anna Huang's books. I'm not really loving this Kings of Sin series. This is the 3rd book. It's about these like 2 people who get divorced and then they find their way back to each other, but that just like wasn't it. They were supposed to be divorced, working on each other, but they were still intimate and sleeping together like after they were divorced and said that they wanted to be separated. This book made no sense to me. It kind of made me angry. Next up we have 2 books actually that I kind of forgot I even read this year. In a Jam by King Canterbury. This book was just so incredibly boring, and that's all I can really tell you about what I remember about it, and I should have DNF'd it, but I didn't. I was really excited because it was supposed to be like some small town marriage of convenience with a single parent situation, and then Savor It by Tahara Dewitt. I DNF'd this. Again, thought it was going to be really fun small town romance. I really judged the book by its cover because I was like, this is gonna be so good, it's gonna be so amazing, it's gonna be so fun. It was so boring. The conversations between the 2 main characters was just so like there was no emotion to them. Next up is a book I swear blew up on TikTok and everybody was like, oh my god, this is exactly like Akatar. How Does It Feel by, I think it's Janine O'Reilly. I think I gave this like 3 to 5 stars, but like looking back, I probably should have gave it like a 2. What I remember from this is that it was very like creepy. It kind of made me have the chills, but not in a good way. Last 3 books I'll just quickly go through. One of them being Reckless, which I didn't not love this. I just was a little disappointed about it. I feel like was everybody's consensus. Same thing over and over again. They would like verbally fight, then they get into some kind of conflict where they needed to like fight to get out of it. Then they'd have a little bit of a romance, and then they'd fight. And it was just that continuous circle for the whole entire book. Next up, Wild Love by Elsie Silver. I gave this a 3 to 5 stars, which is not bad, but I just felt like I didn't connect to anything about this book or these characters or this world. I didn't like Ford, I think overall was why I didn't like this book. And then last but not least is a book that I was anticipating and it just fell short for me. It's Daydream by Hannah Grace. So I gave this, I think, a 3 to 5 stars. And, you know, is it kind of my fault because I knew this was going to be Friends to Lovers? Maybe. I liked it enough. I liked being back with this world and these like hockey team and the characters. But like there was no tension or like angst. The writing was like very weird in this book. Alrighty y'all, so that is it for this video. Those are my favorites of 2024 and some of my least favorites or ones that I just didn't love as much as I thought I was going to. I don't know what it was about this year, but like I kind of found it hard for me to find books that I really enjoyed this year. Like obviously there was ones that were like 5 stars, they really stood out to me. But kind of the other ones I felt like was really hard. I just had a really weird reading year. So I hope you guys enjoyed. If this is the first video you're seeing ever by me, make sure to subscribe down below for many more videos by me. Like, comment, do all the things that y'all know how to do. My socials are also down there, my Amazon wishlist, my Goodreads, and yeah, I will see you guys next week for another video. Bye!